did not have a, yeah, everyone knows I didn't have a power plant. So a little about me, I used to work in probiotics, so big on organism recognition, led me to all kinds of other health stuff. Love the brain. I think that's the future of health. You're going to start to see so much more brain stuff come out. But what I'll talk about today, because one of the things, I was in health for a long time and didn't understand water. And I was telling people, stay hydrated. They asked me which water, looking into filters, so I'll just ask, like, what kind of water do you guys drink? What? Okay, so filtered water.
I mix spring water with distilled water.
Spring with distilled. Interesting. I'll just skip around.
I go to those glacier machines around town.
Glacier machines. Yeah.
Filtered water.
Yeah, filtered water. So you can see there's a huge.
I have an alkalizer.
An alkalizer. So the thing that struck me, and this was a huge breakthrough for me, I'm going to make an argument for going louder. Okay. I'm going to make an argument today for going 100% distilled water. Okay? And here's why, okay? Everyone's going to go, oh, it's going to leach minerals
No, I
out of
think
your
it's
system,
great.
right? You've heard that? I don't know if you have heard it. I think, first off, a lot of times you ask, why is the truth not spoken? It's because there's no money in it. I was an econ guy. There's no money in distilled. There's money in alkaline water. There's money in filters. There's water in money in all kinds of stuff. There's no money in distilled because distilled is distilled. So you can have $1,000 distiller or $100 distiller, and if the water is distilled, it's chemically distilled. But distilled water chemically is empty water, meaning it's H2O. It's just pure. So the big argument for me and how it clicked was, first off, people were like, well, there's no distilled water in nature. All rainwater is distilled water. Nature distills all water that we drink. So it evaporates it, takes it up into the air, that's distillation. Then it rains down. And then people think, well, the water then hits, let's negate the idea of toxicity just for a second. And we'll say, okay, the water comes down, picks up minerals, right? That's what makes it spring water. Now it's alkaline. It was chemically neutral, and now it's alkaline because it picked up minerals from the ground. But plants take that water and take the minerals from the soil, and then they convert those minerals to organic minerals. And you eat the plant and you get mineralized. Make sense? The problem is spring water and alkaline water and all these other kinds of waters, water does not convert inorganic minerals. Plants do. So you can drink and have alkaline water and it can increase your alkalinity, so to speak. That doesn't necessarily make you more healthy. So I try to explain to people, just because you're consuming something that's alkaline doesn't necessarily make you healthier, because if it's unusable alkalinity, it's bad for your system. So people end up with huge calcification, or basically stone buildup and debris in their bodies that causes all kinds of health issues, but especially at the tips, fingers, feet, brain. So it clogs up all these little pores with all this inorganic stuff that your body can't use. So you may technically be more alkaline, but it doesn't make you more healthy. So my case is that understanding water chemically, that distilled water is empty water. So you can actually, what it will do is if you drink it, it will latch onto the inorganic minerals in your system and pull them out. Inorganic. So it's so important to see the difference between people say, oh, it'll pull minerals out of your system. Yes, the inorganic minerals it will pull out of your system, because in the same way that when the rain hits the ground, it pulls the inorganic minerals into the water, it does the exact same thing. So this is very tricky, but you can also use, and that's why people know that with alcohol, it's all distilled, right? Everybody knows that. Well, the laws of science work for toxic addictive substances in the same way they work for healthy substances. So we should strategically be using distilled water as a carrier for all kinds of positive things to get into our cells. But people often want to get drunk more than they want to get healthy. So they use brilliant science And we don't apply the same science, reverse engineer it for our own health. So basically, the idea is that for me, I started drinking distilled water, and it started clearing out my system of all the debris that was coming from all of my alkalized, mineralized waters that I was drinking and spending lots of money on. I had filters with the rocks at the bottom and all that kind of stuff. And so this is a real game changer to clear out my system, but then also I can strategically use that water as a carrier for all kinds of healthy things. That's why all the fluids in your system, your body naturally distills your fluids. So if you drink distilled water, your body doesn't have to distill it. So it frees up all kinds of margin for your system, if that makes sense. So it carries out all the junk and the inorganic stuff. It's a powerful solvent, but it can also be used to carry all the good stuff. It's going to carry all of the organic minerals that you're getting from your food because the plants have converted the inorganic minerals to organic minerals that are usable, and now it's going to carry those organic minerals into your cells. Because something, and I've seen like Dr. Emoto's work, and you've seen that with the intention, that works because the water is outside your body. So he calls it distilled water, dead water, but when the water mixes with you, it becomes you. Because if you're already so you take empty water and you mix it with you, and then it can become you. Whereas if you take alkaline water, so that intention is then powerful as it mixes with you, much more than if you took water that was chemically full of an inorganic mineral and then put it in you, it would be full already. So it wouldn't be able to mix with you as well, because it wouldn't be empty, if that makes sense. So that's why Emoto's work works better on humans if you take distilled water and you are the mineral. See that the distilled mixes with to make it able to be used and have all that intention. So I'm throwing a lot of information out there that have a strong case in my mind. I think the gimmicks and all the filters and all the alkaline waters and all that kind of stuff, if you read on the smart water, it says distilled on there. Of course, it costs $3 a bottle. And you can go to CVS and get, a gallon of distilled water for $1, or you can buy a distiller for $100 and distill your tap. And hopefully you're not drinking tap water. But if you do, the interesting thing is to distill. If you have a distiller, distill your other waters, and you'll see the buildup at the bottom, because distillation chemically leaves everything that's not water at the bottom in the evaporation process. So then you see what you're consuming, and you see that you wouldn't take that, scoop it off the bottom, eat it, and go, ooh, I'm alkaline now. Because consuming inorganic alkaline substances doesn't help your system. Your body converts things on a spectrum. So if you take something that's mildly acidic, but it removes something that's very acidic, you become less acidic. So it reconsolidating the debt, so to speak. And of course, distilled water isn't acidic, so it's neutral. So that's why it's important to eat your green vegetables and drink distilled water. And now let's talk about it. That's controversial stuff. So, there's a lot of information out there.
Where do you get your water from?
Me?
Yeah.
I have a distiller at home. So I just run my tap water into a distiller. It costs me $100, and I drink the distilled water. And that's the way to do it.
What difference does it make?
As soon as I was extremely calcified, and that's why this is important to me, because I have my own story. But basically, at one point I had gotten in a car accident. They took x-rays after the car accident to see if anything was wrong. And so the good news is that you don't have any injuries from the car accident. The bad news is I can see your arteries in your neck in the x-ray. They said, how old are you? Because typically with older people, they get calcified arteries, and with age, and that's, don't take calcium supplements is one, and don't drink all the alkaline and all these other waters, because this stuff isn't processable and it's just going to build up in your arteries. So I had to learn all this stuff to decalcify my system. I had x-rays done, gone. So
How do you store it?
how do I store it? In those glass jugs. With glass jugs, and you'll see in my car I just carry around. And the other secret is I mix stuff in the distilled if I want it to chemically merge and get into my cells. So that's why fruit juices are so great, because that's distilled water. The plant is distilled water. So So people are like, we're juicing this, I get all these benefits, but all the sugar, you can take healthy things, chemically mix them with distilled, and then get that benefit without any of the sugar. Take ascorbic acid, for example, mix it in vitamin C water, that's another talk. It'll change your life. So when people don't know, but it's also, there's very little money in that. So we have to use our intelligence here and not follow the health gimmicks, because business is business, and just tell people the truth. But people are doing, like, spending lots of money trying to get healthy, and they're calcifying their systems by taking calcium, which if they're calcified, they're not deficient biologically in calcium. The calcium isn't being dispersed properly, which distilled water will also help get rid of the over-calcification in their arteries. So, and it frees up your brain. So I've seen benefits practically proven with my x-rays. But other people just don't know. That's why I ask people, I think neurologically, those fine tips of your brain or the fine tips of your kidneys or your feet or your fingers, that's it, everything raises schedule. So this distilled water is small enough chemically to get into those little crevices where if it's full with a rock or it's carrying a stone, it can't get there. That's why alcohol works so well. They want to get that as far in. Everyone knows distillation with alcohol. It's no question. It's good for everyone. Now here's the trick. Here's the danger. It's an indiscriminate carrier, so you cannot tell all of America everybody should start drinking distilled water because it's an indiscriminate carrier. It will carry whatever it mixes with, for better or for worse. So you tell people unintelligently, distilled water is the greatest thing ever. Some guy did a 10-minute talk and he convinced me that I should everyone should drink distilled and it becomes a less fashion. They're going to eat McDonald's and then drink distilled with it, and it's going to optimally carry McDonald's into their system. That's why everything in health and wellness needs to have a strategy, and it needs to have intelligence behind it. We need to understand why we're doing it and what we're telling people. So I tell people strategically when I work with people how to start with distill, how to ease into it, and what it does, so they understand chemically the importance of using it to carry good things and not bad things. Like I said, in health. Oh,
Sorry.
That's it.
I mean, we could go on with this.
Yeah, I can go on about
Okay,
it.
so any...
You don't talk to me about distilled water. It's a pretty controversial thing because there's a lot of people, and for a long time I didn't know. So it's been dramatic.
So we can agree to not drink tap water.
Yeah, nobody drinks tap water,
Here.
please. So yeah, that would be really